back against him. He said, look, if I mandated as president everyone buy a house, would that end homelessness? How do you make someone buy a house who doesn't have the money to buy a house? Most Americans don't have the money to buy a house unless they go to some rural place where you can maybe buy a house for $30,000, $40,000 that's got the roof falling in on it. How do they do this? How do they try to force this? And it's completely unconstitutional on its face, because if they can make you buy health care, then the federal government can do anything. And speaking of doing anything, it isn't up on prisonplanet.com yet, but Watson called me this morning, and it's going to be up on prisonplanet.com very, very soon, and you better believe we're going to cover it here. I know it's old news for this audience, but it's new news that they're actually rolling it out. The TSA, via the Viper teams, is establishing warrantless checkpoints on major highways all over the United States and rolling out nationwide a full federal power grab of the infrastructure of the country, a power grab of the right to travel, the right of passage, the right to engage in commerce, a brazen violation of the 10th Amendment, states' rights, and the 4th Amendment. And we've got video reports of police in ski masks running random checkpoints all over the country, pulling people out of their cars. This is tyranny.
We're on the march. The empire's on the run. Alex Jones and the GCN Radio Network.
Folks, you've heard us talk about Home Gain before. Home Gain is now offering a special promo where you get up to $150 when you buy or sell a home with a Home Gain agent you find through their Find a Realtor program. Home Gain lets you compare realtors anonymously. It's easy. Go to homegain150.com to find and compare realtors anonymously. Enter promo code HomeGain150 and receive up to $150 when you close a deal with a Home Gain agent. Share the Home Gain 150 promo code with your friends via Facebook, Twitter, text, and more. Look for Max, the Home Gain Gorilla, to find out more about how Home Gain is going to pay you. Visit HomeGain150.com today to enter your promo code and get paid for buying or selling a house. That's HomeGain150.com.
This is Alex Jones with 5 good reasons you should consider buying a solar power generator. Number 1, new climate legislation could easily double or triple your electric bill. Number 2, our new energy czar wants to control how much power your electric company allows you to have. It's true. Total government control of electricity in the name of smart grid technology is coming. Number 3, in some areas of the country, the power grid is dangerously overloaded. And now new socialist legislation is only compounding the problem. Number 4, dangerous weather is always a threat to local grids. Every year, thousands of families lose their power from weather-related outages. Number 5, a solar power generator provides powerful backup insurance and peace of mind. Folks, I really believe in the solar power generators offered by Solutions from Science, one of my oldest sponsors. You can get more information at www.mysolarbackup.com. That's mysolarbackup.com. Remember, the government doesn't own the sun, so go to mysolarbackup.com or call 1-877-327-0365. Hundreds of nations have fallen to tyranny in the last century alone. This is our last chance to not relive history.
As we're finishing off this agenda, they'll be pulling the rug from underneath Americans at home.
They have tremendous influence on our president and Congress, and they really are calling the shots.
I think it's incumbent upon all of us as American citizens to pay attention.
Fall of the Republic identifies the enemies of our nation, the criminal offshore cartel, hell-bent on destroying sovereignty, and on its ashes constructing world government.
Tim Geithner, Bernanke, they're arsonists. They're asking for more matches. And the Congress is saying, who do we make the check out to?
Today, it seems like nobody does care. And right now in Washington, D.C., we have seen a fall of the Republic.
Get your copy of Fall of the Republic on DVD at Infowars.com or watch it online right now in super high quality at PrisonPlanet.tv.
Well, I won't back down. No, I won't back down.
We're going to be getting into
You can stand me
the
up
record cold
at the
temperatures
gates of
and
hell,
record in
but
at least the
I
last 4
won't
decades.
back
The media is
down.
reporting snowfall over much of the United States, and that huge blanket of snow burying the East Coast that's been buried now at least 3 times in the last 2 months. And incredibly, the media is spinning this, that it's carbon dioxide that's causing it and that it's humans. This is global warming, supposedly. That is coming up. Also, we're going to be getting into this later in the hour. TSA invades roads and highways with Viper checkpoints. TSA invades roads and highways with Viper checkpoints. Absolute, complete, classical tyranny, the seizure of infrastructure, but they will not control our southern and northern borders. They have never completed even small parts of the border fence, and of course they canceled and never really began constructing. It was all show, the virtual fence. Meanwhile, Henry Kissinger, this video from Bloomberg is up at prisonplanet.com. Kissinger on Egypt unrest. This is only the first scene of the first act of a drama that is to be played out. So we're going to be getting into that as well. But getting first into Chucky Schumer. Now, this is a U.S. senator. Before that, a member of the House of Representatives. This is a guy who is very smart and no doubt knows that the 3 branches of government, as any 5-year-old should know, are executive, legislative, and judicial. The executive is the president. The legislative is the House and Senate. And, of course, the judicial is the courts. But he says that they've got to get the 3 branches of government together. When he was on CNN a few days ago, they've got to get the 3 branches of government together. And what are those 3 branches? The House, the Senate, and the president. Well, that's only 2 branches. He counts the legislative as 2. So incredible. And he knows what he's doing. They just engage in this type of baloney, just like parrots for decades. They say we're a democracy. In a democracy, if 51% of the American people vote to take the other 49% of the people's property and put you in slave camps, it happens. In a democracy, if 51% vote to take your guns, it happens. In a democracy, if 51% vote to merge with China, it happens. In a democracy, if 51% vote to put carbon taxes on everyone, it happens. In a republic, a constitutional republic that our country has been the model of worldwide in the last 235 years, the model of liberty, you have basic liberties to private property, the Second Amendment, the right to travel. The federal government isn't allowed to take over society. It only has 3 powers, and those are limited, 9th and 10th Amendment. And so it's so fundamental when they tell you that we're a democracy, as Benjamin Franklin said, 2 wolves and a sheep voting on what's for dinner. If there were 2 wolves and a sheep, and they sat down and said, what's going to be for dinner, the 2 wolves would outvote the sheep, and they would eat the sheep. But in a republic, the sheep is protected. But now in this quasi-fake mob rule, the system hypes up the dumbed-down masses and gets them to feel entitled and to go along with an agenda of free health care. Remember all the Obama supporters? Oh, thank you, Mr. President. Right after he got elected, I won't have to buy health care anymore. I won't have to have a house payment. I won't have to have a car payment. Oh, thank you, Mr. Remember all of them falling down, fainting everywhere? Well, we're 2 years into this nightmare. Did you get all the free goodies you were looking for? Again, the Founding Fathers warned of the dangers of the howling mob. Once Rome fell from being a republic to being run by the Caesar, he began to give welfare to the mob. He began to employ the street gangs. He began to hire through successive kings, Caesars, rulers, Kaisers. And you know what Rome turned into. We know where this goes. We know. You go to Egypt. If you don't have the government's stamp, you don't get to have a business. This isn't what a free society looks like. And I know I keep repeating that, but it's amazing. Here is Chucky Schumer telling everybody the 3 branches of government are the House, the Senate, and the President. And there's no way he didn't know what he was doing. Here it is.
To get Social Security checks, he can't fund the military. But ultimately, it risks
the credit markets. They are getting wary because of the large debt we have, which we have to get down. But if they feel that people are willing to shut down the government, you could risk the credit markets really losing some confidence in the United States Treasury, and that could create a deeper recession than we had over the last several years, God forbid, even a depression. So I would urge my Republican colleagues, no matter how strongly they feel, you know, we have three branches of government. We have a House, we have a Senate, we have a president, and all three of us are going to have to come together and give some. But it is playing with fire to risk the shutting down of the government, just as it is playing with fire to risk not paying the debt.
Okay. Yeah, playing with fire. This is all part of their disinformation campaign. Now, this next clip is also from CNN. And first, let me get into this news that's a prelude to what we're about to play. This is out of AFP. Senators vow to strip Obama climate power. Well, they have to, because he's illegitimately, through the Environmental Protection Agency, implementing the Kyoto UN Treaty Protocol, which is selective only on Western Europe, Canada, England, Australia, New Zealand, and the U.S., to slap giant 20% taxes to begin with in phase one on all of our power plants, coal-fired, natural gas, you name it. And more than half our power is generated by coal. Now, China's building 2 to 3 a week. We're only allowed to build 2 a year under federal permitting. Now, what has Obama done? He's come into Texas a month ago and seized the power plants in a regulatory order, demanding that they either reduce output or pay higher taxes. No law behind that. The president is just doing it, just like they're doing so many other things that are unconstitutional. And conservative senators vowed to strip President Obama of his power to regulate greenhouse gases in a move that would cripple U.S. efforts on climate change if successful. Gotta love how the news just reports climate change. See, it was global warming, now it's change. And they tell school kids when it gets cold, it's global warming. When it gets hot, it's global warming. Now they've shifted into climate change. We always have climate change. They've had several mini ice ages in the last 10,000 years. That's confirmed by the ice core samples. It's the sun that drives it, and moon cycles, because the moon controlling the ocean tides and also blocking or not blocking, depending on where it is, solar winds. It's the winds of space and the sun and these energies that ionize the atmosphere that create the aurora borealis. But the UN, back in 2009, about a year and 2 months ago, announced it at the summit in Copenhagen. They had a declaration and said the sun has no effect on climate, because all these scientific bodies and scientists were bringing in petitions saying it's the sun, it's the sun. Humans have almost no effect. It's the sun. It's the sun. Carbon dioxide's a life-giving gas that then plants respirate from and give off oxygen. And so they had a confab, a conclave, and said, we find that the sun has no effect on climate change. That'd be like the Pope 600 years ago saying, we find that the earth is the center of the universe and the sun orbits the earth. We find the earth is flat. We find the moon is made of Swiss cheese. They actually found that the earth was flat and that the earth was not and the earth was the center of the universe. They didn't find it was made of Swiss cheese, but they might as well. We find at this conference of cardinals that the earth is flat, and anyone who says otherwise will be burned at the stake. And the UN says, we find at this meeting that the sun has no effect on the climate of the